Okay, what do we got here? We got the altar, check. We're down and all set up in purgatory, check. Tier list, check. Giant butterfly net, check. All right, we're ready to go ahead and start rounding them up and getting this tier list started. Oh, hi guys, welcome back. Don't mind me, I'm just getting ready to head down to hell to round up all the individuals that attempted to torment us in 2024 so we can rank them today. Granted, they all did end up failing in the end, but you gotta admire the fact that they all put their best foot forward in tormenting our protagonist. They came, they saw, they got blown up, and none were successful. But that doesn't mean that some didn't put forth a better attempt than others. I'm here today not to judge the games they came from, but the actions that they took during the games. Because we care about personality around here, it ain't always about the plot. They'll be judged on their design, how they killed, and honestly how interesting they were as characters overall. Of course, this list is going to be 100% opinion based, so if you guys disagree with me, I look forward to reading about it down in the comments below. So if you'll just be patient for one moment, I'll round them all up and we'll get started.
A few moments later.
Get back over here, you little fuckers.
You know you done fucked up, right?
No, you got the wrong idea. Same team. I'm not even with these guys. Okay, lesson learned. Doom Guy does not like people infringing on his turf. At least he made it easier for me to round them all up. They practically ran into my butterfly net after seeing him. So let's just go ahead and jump into it. I'm Brawdury, and this is the tier list of the bosses we faced in a den of frights in 2024. Camp Sunshine, you didn't bring a lot to the table for this tier list, but hey, what you did bring, I won't ever forget. Cult members, furries, and demon lords, oh my. So why don't we start with the lackeys of the big bad, Atasea. Now call me crazy, me personally, I only think of demon lords only as interesting as the cult members that they inspire. And granted, these guys might seem like they just are slackers with the fact that they're always dancing out in the moonlight or break dancing when they're supposed to be doing their jobs. They get shit done in the end. They set out to revive their demon lord and they got it done first try. They are efficient, you gotta give them that, but at the same time, they also drank the Kool-Aid, so unfortunately I'm gonna have to mark them both down because yeah, that just seems like wasted potential. And although I can appreciate the traditional look they were going for, I gotta put both the Demon Lord and the cult members in the C bracket. Mainly because I feel like Atasea would have been more successful in their endeavors if they would have embraced their cult's potential instead of having them drink the Kool-Aid. Then maybe they wouldn't have been defeated by an emotionally stunted Pokemon teenage cosplayer. But don't worry, we have one more offering that will bring you a little higher up on the list. Now we must talk about Sunshine Bear. To be completely honest, I never thought a pixelated creation like Sunshine Bear could ever make me feel as unsettling as it does. The dead eyes, the creepy smile, I mean, just the whole look works great. And just appearance-wise, it's A-class in my opinion. But I've been bouncing back and forth between putting it in the B slot and the A slot just because as creepy as he was, he's kind of a one-trick pony. But don't get me wrong, he does that trick very well. His go-to move might be participating in the stabby, but it's his physicality and speed that really puts him over the top for me. My dude murders an entire auditorium in seconds, murders an entire campground within hours. That's some impressive shit. Which none of this should be surprising. I mean, he's basically Jason Voorhees in a furry suit. I actually enjoyed the character enough that I wouldn't mind a little like 4 or 5 episode animated series telling the story of the game. And for that, I gotta put him in the A slot. Just please don't let the people who did the Quartz Party anime anywhere near it. God, that was terrible. But let's move on to last slide's offerings because oh my god, do they got a lot. From demons and ghost childrens and quote-unquote friends who clearly have our best interests at heart, there was a lot to keep us on our toes in Last Light. And just to streamline this a little bit, as far as the art style or the character designs and stuff like that, I love each and every one of these, though that's already going to put them up a little bit on my grading scale because I just have no notes when it comes to any of the art that was in that game. But does that mean that any of them have what it takes to reach S or A tier for me? Let's find out by discussing the demons first. Ah yes, the demons, the creatures that spent the better part of the night smacking the taste out of Lil Lumi's mouth. They definitely knew how to keep you on your toes, and each and every one of them honestly scared the crap out of me several times throughout the game. But that being said, once you figured out how to beat them, you could basically use their strengths against them to just basically move along the game without even really hiding. A little salt here, keeping the door locked there, and honestly the game just enters easy mode for the rest of your playthroughs. But despite that, I wouldn't want to run into any of these guys in a lit hospital, much less a dark abandoned one. And for that, I'm going to put them firmly in the B tier. And we'll follow up that with the other inhabitants of the abandoned hospital. And hey, I know anybody who's actually played Last Light is looking at this as like, hey, what are they doing on there? They weren't your enemies. You were actually helping them out to move on. And for that, I say, hey, look at you for not messing up in the game. Good for you, because honestly, if you screw up too many times with these kids, they will flat out murder your ass. Bring them the wrong drink, the wrong tool, hell, fail at the games that they're trying to play with you more than one time, and you are dead. No mercy, they don't play. But despite the fact they have some of the most unique looks in the game, the fact that they're not actively trying to murder you throughout the night makes it to where I don't want to put them too high on the list, so I'm going to firmly put them in the C bracket. Above Atasea and the cult members, but still in the C bracket. And that being said, we're going to go ahead and put the creepy lost doll behind the ghost kids for the exact same reason. It's only hostile if you screw up, and despite it being really creepy in design, I mean, it's just a doll. You know what? I take it back. We're going to put the doll behind Atasea, but put him above the cult members. Because the doll is creepier than the cult members, but honestly not as dangerous as the Demon Lord was. Plus, gun to my head, if this was a game of chess, I would say that the possessed doll would probably be a pawn, where the Demon Lord would be at least a bishop. But not everything Lumi went up against was demonic. Let's go ahead and talk about her classmates for a second. These kids are troubled, textbook, psychotic pieces of shit. But at the end of the day, they're just children, cookie cutter bullies that honestly just need discipline in their lives, because really what they are doing is really messed up and most definitely should land them in juvie. But at the same time, I feel like after some therapy and some actual discipline, that they could actually be saved. Does not erase what they did to Lumi. I mean, God, just some of them scenes were just terrible what they were doing to that poor girl. But nothing they should have been murdered for, especially since I genuinely think they were being goaded on by a undisclosed demon. I disclosed this theory towards the end of my video covering this in the Den of Frights. I believe Amelia is a demon in disguise. There's clear evidence of her hanging out with the demons. She's the most antagonistic member of their little group, constantly egging on the other kids. And she's the #1 reason why I want a sequel to the game, because I would like a little more Lumi's story, and I also want to know if my theory is true. And that's why I'm going to put the kids in rank D and Amelia in rank B, because honestly, the cookie cutter bullying just isn't very intimidating. That's just what kids do. Kids can be mean-spirited at times. Granted, they took it beyond the Call of Duty, and that's why they're on this list, but they just aren't menacing enough to put very high on the list. And Amelia just has so much potential behind her character that I feel like if they did a sequel and they actually did more with that character, that she could possibly be one of the most intimidating people in the series. As of right now, that honor goes to our next contestant, Stabby Rabby. Not a very creative nickname, I grant you, but hey, I didn't feel like calling him Rabbit with a knife during this tier list. This little guy's look is intimidating as hell, and the fact that there are so many of them in the freaking hospital makes them like just terrifying to bump into. The only problem I have with them is that they are clearly wasted potential. They're essentially just a hide and seek minigame, and not a particularly difficult hide and seek minigame. But despite that, Stabby Rabby has an intimidating look, and his minions just add to it. So honestly, I gotta put him up there with Sunshine Bear. Granted, his wasted potential does put him behind Sunshine Bear in the bracket, but he does deserve to be an A. Now that that's settled, onward to Zombies Revenge offerings. And just a heads up, I'm going to butcher a lot of these names. And the ones without names are going to get nicknames from me. I'm not about ready to sit here and read off all these serial numbers. So why don't we start off with the Borg Buddies. One's big and strong and the other one ain't above taking you out the ankles. Truly a formidable team. And full disclosure, I showed my age a bit during my review by pointing out the mask reminded me of the one from Three Ninjas. But unfortunately, not even nostalgia could save them from the C rank. I'm sorry, anything that looks like it's a cross between a Terminator and a Borg should honestly not be able to be defeated by punching and kicking it. Yeah, I know you have a gun in the game, but come on, it's a beat 'em up. You're going to punch and kick it to death. Granted, I defeat them with the good old-fashioned pew-pew, but at the end of the day, the fact that you can beat them up with your bare hands makes it to where they're not as intimidating as they should be. And for that, we're going to put them in the C block right behind the Demon Lord. Next up, we got twofer for you. Letter Daddy Z and Letter Daddy Nuclean, both showing up at the most unopportune times. Prepared to give the most awkward of lap dances. But really, the only thing that's intimidating about these two is possibly the smell. Whether you're smelling trash or you're smelling burnt flesh, either way, it's not going to be pleasant. I'm just going to put them both in D rank. They're clearly more intimidating than schoolyard bullies, but at the same time, they're pretty weak offerings to the tier list. And speaking of weak offerings, Nicolai and Headland are up next. One of you can be shot out of the sky before your boss battle even begins, and the other one seems like they might be better suited to fulfill some kind of fetish in the dark corners of the internet. Either way, neither one of you guys are making it past D rank on this list. Headland, I'm going to put you above the zombie strippers, but Nicolai, you are definitely going behind the schoolyard bullies, because honestly, I find them a little more intimidating than you. Damn, this D-list is filling up quick, but don't worry, not everything from Zombies Revenge is heading there. Let's talk about some of the more intimidating enemies. The fact that he has the strength to walk through steel pipes like he's walking through a field of flowers tells me that, yeah, he's best to be avoided. And for that, I'm going to put him in a high-ranking position of B. His athleticism and his strength it earns him that spot. But does that earn him a spot above our next contestant? Quick answer, no it doesn't. Because this creature, yes, reminds me a lot of a species knockoff, minus Natasha, which hurts it in this ranking. But it did have a few tricks up its sleeve that made it a little more intimidating than the beastie at the factory. Its use of teleport and lightning are impressive enough to put it close to the A rank, but not quite go over the threshold, so I'm going to put him above the beastie. But I wouldn't get too comfortable because you're about ready to get pushed back yourself by this boss that clearly wandered in from the Contra set. This is going to be one of the easier ones on the list. It's big, it's slimy, it clearly doesn't know how to chew his food properly, but you know what? You walk into the room and you run into this, chances are you're not walking back out of that room. So that's why it's going to go above, but still not reach A tier. But you know who is reaching A tier? The Black Magician. And knows that you don't get to accompany him just because he's technically your final form. You go down there behind the schoolyard bullies while the adults are talking. Granted, he may look like he's trying to do an off-brand Devil Jin cosplay. The dude actually does a lot. The dude basically takes you on an interdimensional fight where he shoots demon lasers at you and teleports and punches you in the face whenever he feels like it. In full disclosure, I would like to put Sunshine Bear above him just because I feel like I could run into somebody like Sunshine Bear in real life and minus the demonic possession, get messed up via machete. But at the end of the day, I gotta take into effect that this creature is like 5 or 6 of these different monsters on this tier list put into one, therefore would be a lot more of an intimidating creature to go up against. So I'm going to put him above Sunshine Bear, but he's still not S-class. But how will he stand up against the Nosferatu Titan? Not looking good, Black Magician. Not looking good at all. Not gonna lie, this one's probably going to take it just because of the hype I felt when I was playing the game the first time I ran into him. I was very excited when the thing came crashing through the building. It was really the only boss that I went up against in this game where I was like, oh shit, this is going to be fun. Granted, it wasn't very fun. He was very easy to kill, but the hype was enough to get me excited about the character. Seeing it made me nostalgic for both the silent film Nosferatu and Attack on Titan, and that was enough to really put it over the edge for me and make it my favorite design in that game. Granted, smart money would be to put on the Black Magician in a fight between the two of them, but honestly, I like to vote on the underdog, so I'm going to give it to the Nosferatu Titan and put him on the top A rank, but I almost want to put him in S rank, but he just doesn't do enough to earn that slot. And honestly, I'm beginning to wonder if anybody's going to hit S rank in this tier list. Why don't we head over to Clock Tower 3's offerings and see what we got? And oh boy, their offerings do not disappoint. Well, most of them don't disappoint. Let's start off with the Friendly Ghost. You're going to run into these guys more than any other enemy in the game, and the worst that they're going to do is hug you to death. Their end game is to kill you with kindness till you finally find whatever they're looking for so they can finish their unfinished business and move on. And truth be told, they're no more intimidating than Casper's uncles, and for that, I'm going to put them above the bullies but below the zombie strippers. And basically every lesser subordinate -1 is going to end up in the B tier for me, high B tier too. And basically it's because they went a little bit into their backstories, which made the characters more real and more intimidating than all the other monsters that we have basically covered in this list. Honestly, they're not as intimidating as some of their allies, and they're definitely not as intimidating as the others that are already on A tier, but they still are rememberable characters. Therefore, I felt like they deserved to be up there, but just not quite in the A tier. Now, with that said, let's take a step up from them and discuss Chopper and the Scissor Twins. The pure joy that the Scissor Twins have when they're torturing people and how they play mind games with their victims definitely make them A tier worthy, but they just got nothing on Chopper's backstory. Plus, outside of his impressive kill record, he's killed more rooters than any other subordinate, he has a creepy ass backstory, and he's mainly responsible for Alyssa's father's death. Helping influence Grandpa Dicky into doing that was more than enough to put him behind the Black Magician but above Sunshine Bear, with the Scissor Twins close behind, leaving us with the Dark Man Dicky Boros combination. Basically, Grandpa Dick becomes the Dark Man after he becomes a subordinate, and then when Boros is brought back to life, basically him and the Dark Man fuse, making a Dicky Boros. Spoilers, sorry. And big shocker, none of these guys are S tier worthy. Grandpa Dick and the Dark Man are really all talk. They're high C tier at best. And Dicky Boros, I can put him in the middle of A tier, but he's nowhere near the top. I probably put him only above Chopper just because he would kick Chopper's ass with all of his abilities, and the fact that Boros did horrific things while he was still alive. And with that final placement, that brings us to the end of our very first tier list. And I'm going to be completely honest, I'm a little bit surprised at where everybody landed at the end of this. A little bit surprised that nobody made it into the S tier for me, but at the same time, when I was actually reviewing these characters and really thinking about it, none of them really seemed like they belong in S. S really should be reserved for legendary, like iconic characters, and nobody I covered in this tier list really fit the bill for that one. Maybe we'll find some in the future. And honestly, I might have been pushing the wire a little bit with some of the A tier, but I had to go with my gut and my personal opinion on each of these characters. If you guys disagree, or if you guys have your own opinion on where certain characters on here should have belonged, please let me know down in the comments below. I would love to discuss it with you guys. I had a lot of fun doing this one, and I have a few other ones in mind to do in the future, but if you guys have any topics you'd like me to consider, put them down below also. I would love to hear them and consider them. Oh, look, Doom Guy found the portal entrance. I'll be right with you in just 1 second. Aki, I need you to go to the island right now, get our little friend, and bring her here right now. We're going to need backup. And as for you guys, like, subscribe, leave a comment down below, let us know how you really feel, and we hope to see you back here very soon. Just hopefully I'm still alive to see you in return. Now, Doom Guy, I know I was trespassing in hell, and that is my bad, and I know I hang out with cinematic people, but they're really good guys. There's no reason to cut them in the ribbons. In fact, one of them, I just sent him off to go get your emotional support slayer, and we can just talk this out like normal, responsible individuals. And what are you going to do with that shotgun?
How could you miss? He was 3 feet in front of you!